Two questions that humans have always asked are, what's the meaning of life? And the other one being, are we really alone in the universe? So today we're going to enter with a third question, an even more profound question than the other two. And that is, which one's better, the CZ or the Glock? Now on one side, the Glock owner is always going to say, anything but Glock sucks. And on the other end, CZ owners are going to say, anything but a CZ, well, means you don't really know anything about guns. Now, the first handgun I ever owned was a CZ-P01. And the reason why I got this gun was because I wanted something that was hammer-fired. As a new gun owner, I felt a little bit more secure being able to conceal it that way. You can tell that the CZ, when they made it with good quality. In regards to the ergonomics, it was really second to none, in my opinion, at that time. The gun carries well, and even more importantly, when I shot it for the first time, I was instantaneously in love with this handgun because it was very controllable and it really had no flaws. The coating of the slide, the aluminum body, everything in this gun screams absolute perfect. So CZ upped its game when it came out with the P01 Omega. They changed the shape of the trigger. They also changed the direction of the decocker, and more importantly, they introduced that Omega system, which allows you to work a little bit better with the handgun in regards to changing parts. Also, if you want to switch it out from decock mode to safety only, you can do that as well. So a great improvement for a great handgun. Glock, of course, came out with their 19X, and this one took the market by storm. As a matter of fact, it was one of the most popular selling handguns of 2018. Now, of course, when it first came out, people were saying, maybe this wouldn't be the gun for me with the short slide and longer grip, but this was introduced for the military, and even though Glock did not win that military contract, this also ushered in that new age of the Gen 5 Glock, which I think made a major improvements on the handgun. Now, in regards to the Gen 5 MOS, it actually showed that there was actually more room for improvement. When the first Gen 5s came out, a lot of people complained that the slide did not meet up with the actual lower of the handgun. They changed that. Of course, at the bottom of the grip, they cut out that piece of polymer, which was there to remove magazines, and a lot of people were saying that's just stupid, me being one of them. And with the Gen 5 MOS, they changed that as well, leading up to what I think may be the best Glock 19 they've ever made. So CZ, of course, came out with their P10C, and this was out there to really turn heads. This was going to change the market. It was going to turn everything upside down, and it was going to challenge the foundation of the Glock forever. As a matter of fact, their campaign and their marketing specifically targeted Glock, saying that they were challenging quote-unquote perfection. And what they've created, in their opinion, and many CZ owners' opinion as well, is the perfect striker-fired polymer handgun that's ever been made. Now, Glock owners all over America were saying, absolutely not, Glock is still king. At the end of the day, it's not really for me to decide what's best for you, but it's going to be for you to decide what's best for you. What you want to carry, how you want to carry it, and which one fits the best. Ultimately, that opinion is up to you. And as we go to the table, we're going to examine this a little bit further, and I can't wait to see what you guys have to say. All right, and back to the table we go. So in regards to both of these handguns, and I'm really focusing more on the P10 and the Glock 19 because to me that's a real fair comparison. Both are striker fired, both are polymer, and the P10 purposely went after Glock's market with a lot of the jabs they took against Glock perfection. So overall, the question that is really going to be asked at the end of this is which one of these really is the suckier of the two pistols, or which one of them is suckier less than the other one. And at the end of the day, it's really up to you to decide. I'd love to see what the CZ fanboys are going to say and what the Glock fanboys are going to say, because I think it's going to be quite an interesting time for comments. Overall, both handguns are actually pretty darn good. I obviously have a little bit of a checkered past with the CZ P10. I've had several models, and I've had several issues with them. Now, this one, I'm happy to say, has had no problems at all. Now, I've got about 750 rounds through this one now, and it by all aspects has become just a wrecking machine in regards to just being able to handle everything. It shoots really well. It holds really well. So the P10 definitely has done quite a job. I mean, the CZ, in my opinion, is a fantastic handgun for a lot of different reasons. You know, when this came out, the ergonomics, you can't beat the ergonomics of this handgun. I mean, it just sits in your hand really well. You're able to get that beaver tail a little bit further into the back of your hand, which, again, will minimize that recoil. The slide, which isn't necessarily the traditional CZ slide into the lower, is still fairly low comparatively speaking to other handguns. It's not as, I would say, maybe as low as a Glock, but at the same time, the slide height is actually very, very good. Again, the trigger out of the box was great. Now, you can see that I've already upgraded this trigger to the HB Industries trigger. One of the things that I did not like about the CZ trigger was that the trigger safety never really went fully flush into the shoe. So that's why I changed this out. Now, some people may say this is what's going to cause my failures. Keep in mind, nothing else has changed internally. It's just the trigger shoe. It's not anything else. I did not change out the striker spring. That's the same. And right now, this has been running flawlessly just with the trigger shoe added to it. Again, CZ, I think, really made a good handgun in regards to the P10. Everything about this handgun to me would be what people would be looking for. Now, the question is this better or worse than the Glock 19? So, of course, the Glock 19, and again, this magazine is loaded. However, there is nothing in the chamber, so the gun has been cleared. But the Glock 19, for a lot of people, has been, I think, the foundation of all polymer striker-fired handguns. The Glock 19 throughout the years, through each generation, 1 through 5, has always had this love-hate kind of relationship with people. Either you love them or you hate them. And what's interesting is that if you love them, most people would say that anything but a Glock is an inferior product. And if you hate Glocks, you would say that anything but Glock is a superior product. Now, the Glock 19 Gen 5 MOS, again, in my opinion, on my last video that I made, I said this is probably the best 19 that they've ever made. And I have to still say that I think this is absolutely the best 19 that has ever been made. They made a lot of improvements with this handgun, whether it's some of the internal mechanisms of the gun. The stock trigger that came with this handgun was actually very good. I mean, it's surprising to say that, but at the same time, you could tell they really worked something differently inside of the trigger mechanism. It just felt better. It had a crisper reset, a shorter pull. At least that's the way it felt to me. And it really was an improvement from what Glock had offered in the past. In regards to some of the other things that were kind of the downer in regards to the Gen 5s, they got rid of that little opening down here in the polymer. Again, you can see they removed all those finger grooves. And they finally gave the gun front serrations. And I wonder, and again, you would have to wonder, if it had something to do with the fact that CZ came out with their P10, that of course had front serrations. Now, in regards to the beveling of the front, they met up the slide with the lower, and everything looks really good. I mean, this actually looks like a modern firearm, even though it's still a Glock. Ergonomically, I think with the removal of those finger grooves, while some people like those finger grooves because they say it may give them a little bit better control of the gun, I don't know if I feel that way as much. And the reason being is because really, you should be getting more control with that support hand than actually with your strong hand. At least that's the way I would think about it. And in regards to that, I just feel like I'm able to get a better grip on this gun without those actual finger grooves. But again, everybody's going to be different, and that's the beauty of this. Overall, I think what you have in front of you is you have two great competitors. Now, in regards to some of the pros and cons, the pros to the Glock are definitely the fact that you can find anything and everything for a Glock. Now, obviously, some of the aftermarket support for the Gen 5s has been a little slow, but it's starting to pick up now. And again, you can find sights for this handgun, triggers, springs, magazine extensions, you name it, you can find it for a Glock. And I think that's why so many people really love this handgun. Of course, on the opposite side of that spectrum, you have the haters of the Glock who will say, why would you pay usually about $500+ for this handgun just to pay another $300 to make this handgun exactly what you want? When you could technically pay, and again, you can find these in the threes right now sometimes, but you can find these for the threes, low fours, and you're getting pretty much a complete handgun. Again, the opposite argument of that would be, but then you can't really customize this to what you want it to be like you can the Glock. Now, overall, is there really a poor choice between the two handguns? I don't think there is a poor choice. I think they're both made of quality. I think they're both extremely reliable. And I think right now, although this is still the king of the aftermarket, I think eventually we'll see more and more coming out for this P10. Again, I think Glock also has the head start when it comes for the optics ready pistols. I know that, obviously the P10 is going to be doing that as well with the P10S and the P10F. Although I'm still a little leery about not having the plates come with the gun. I think that's kind of cheap on CZ's part. But again, we'll see how that plays out. That may change. Overall, both guns are fairly nice. They're about the same size in regards to their width. The length obviously is a little bit different. The P10 has a little bit more on that grip. As a matter of fact, I'll insert the magazine. Oh my God, loaded magazine. And you can see that you do have a little bit more space under the pinky on the CZ versus the Glock. Again, the Glock, I think where it's really lacking is maybe getting a little bit more of an undercut in here and also under the trigger guard to kind of give you a little bit higher purchase, even higher than what you get now, and a little bit further underneath the slide. But other than that, the gun feels great in the hand. Both are great opportunities to own a fantastic handgun. If you own either one of these, you really can't go wrong. I think they are definitely a good option for anybody out there who's looking for a fantastic striker-fired pistol. So here's what I'd like for all of you to do. Leave down below in the comment section, which one of these do you think is better? Is it the P10 that owns the market now, or is it still the grandfather of all striker-fired pistols in the Glock 19? Also, I'd love to hear what you have to say about the other owners. Glock owners always get mad when people say anything bad about a Glock, and you're starting to see the same thing happen with CZ. So God forbid anybody talk any smack about either one of these manufacturers. So I'd love to see what those comments are going to be. So tell me what you think, guys. Which one's better? P10 from CZ, Glock 19 from Glock, Glock versus CZ. Which one do you like and why? Which one do you hate and why? I hope you guys have a great night. Stay safe. And as always, freedom is never free.